All right, so now we're on C there. All right, we have tangent theta equals the square root of 3. All right, and notice it tells us, it gives us our answer a little bit differently in terms of what our domain is. All right, so we have to be greater than negative 180. All right, so negative 180 goes this way. All right, so this would be negative 180. And greater than positive 180. All right, so this would be positive 180. And if you notice together, so this was negative 180, that was positive 180. Together, the two angles equals the whole circle. Right? So though it's told to us a little bit differently, it still is the entire circle. All right, so this one, notice we have an exact value. Right? So we can get an exact angle measure because we have an exact value. Right? So we are told that tangent theta is the square root of 3. Right? So the square root of 3 only comes from, let's actually, before we do that, let's X out the quadrants that we're not in, so we know which quadrants we are in. All right, so if you notice, our value is positive. Tangent is positive in the first and third quadrants, so that means that is not part of the second quadrant, and it is not part of the fourth quadrant, because we would be negative there. All right, so we are just in the first and third quadrants. Right? And so we'll find our answer for the first quadrant, and then we'll find our answer for the third quadrant. Right? So if we use the calculator, we can get an answer, but it will be an approximate answer, and we could actually get an exact answer here. Right? So if we think about our special right triangle, so how about one that looks a little nicer? How about one that's trying to look like it's a right triangle? Right? And the angles we evaluate are, if we're looking at a triangle, are always the acute ones. So theta here is one of the acute angles. And so if you remember, tangent is opposite over adjacent. Right? So the opposite side is the square root of 3. Right? The adjacent side, therefore, is 1. That's why it's not there. Right? So this is opposite. This is adjacent. Here it's 1. And, of course, this is the 30, 60, 90 triangle. And we're in degrees, so we'll call it 30, 60, 90. And, of course, that would be 2. Not that we need that value anyhow. So if we think about the angle measures opposite the different sides, right? So opposite the 1 is our smallest angle. It is 30 degrees, or pi 6 if we're in radians. So this angle here is 30 degrees. Right? And, of course, this is the other angle is 60 degrees. Right? Because it has to add up to 180. And in degrees, it's 6. So opposite the square root of 3 is 60 degrees. Or, if we're in radians, pi thirds. So that means that our reference triangle, we can actually draw a triangle here because we're actually on the sides, square root of 3 and 1 and 2. Right? This angle here is 60 degrees. Right? Since we're in the first quadrant, our reference angle and principal angle are exactly the same. Right? And so answer number 1, right, theta is a 60-degree angle. Right? That was what will give us a tangent ratio of the square root of 3. All right, now we need to graph our other reference triangle. Of course, we know the only other place that tangent is positive is in this quadrant. And remember, our triangle goes back to the x-axis, and that is always a right angle. It's always straight perpendicular to the x-axis. All right, so this is going to be a 60-degree angle. Those are vertical angles, remember back from geometry. Right? This is our reference angle. Right? So for our other angle, our other answer, our reference angle is 60 degrees. We need to figure out how much that angle is. Right? So the 60 degrees goes back to the x-axis, right? And actually, oh, excuse me, can I go that direction? No, I cannot. So now is when this becomes important. If I go this way, I am outside of the 180 degrees, right? So I can't go any further than that, right? So since I can't go that direction, because remember our answer has to be between negative 180 and positive 180. And of course, if we go adding 60 degrees to 180, we're going to be more than 180. So we're going to have to go this direction instead, all right? So still the same, sort of the same idea, except we're going another direction. All right, so we have if we went all the way up to the x-axis, of course, that would be negative 180. All right, but we're stopping 60 degrees away. So that means our principal angle is going to be 60 degrees plus the negative 180 that we're trying to go, but we're not. And so we're only going 120 degrees, negative 120. And that is our other answer. Right? So if you have exact values, right, and that means a half, a square root of 3, 2 square roots of 3, like in the bottom, right, we can use our special right triangles instead to figure out our values, right? And we're still doing the same thing in terms of our reference angle, right? So this one, if they hadn't said negative 180 to 180, our other answer would have been 180 plus 60 would have been 240, right? But since they said, nope, you can't go past 180, right, we have to go the other direction, right? So negative 120 it is. All right, and I'm going to actually do the next one on here too, because this one didn't take me too long. All right, so on the same video. So I'm going to just change the page. All right, so notice our steps when we have a special right triangle. And so these two are special right triangles. We can see that from the values. It's not some decimal. All right, so it is the same triangle too. All right, so for a moment, let's ignore the negative 2 pi part and just think 0 to 2 pi, and then we'll come and get those. So this just means we're going to have more answers rather than less answers, since we're going to go all the way around the circle one direction. So this is, there's positive 2 pi, and if we go the other way, this would be negative 2 pi. It's just going to double our amount of answers, right? But it's going to be the same triangles, just we went a different way to get there. All right, so, but let's graph our angle. We are positive. All right, so let's graph the first one. So that means if secant is positive, it means we are not in the second quadrant and we are not in the third quadrant. We are only in the first and the fourth quadrants. All right, so I'm going to move this stuff out of our way. otherwise it gets kind of busy. All right. So ignore that one. All right, so let's go ahead and graph in the first quadrant. All right, so we have our special right triangle, and now we just got to think about what secant is. All right, so secant is the hypotenuse over adjacent. It is the reciprocal of cosine. So that means the hypotenuse is 2. The adjacent side is the square root of 3. It was nice of them not to rationalize for us. So this is 2, and this is the square root of 3, which means this is 1. Right? The angle, we don't measure the angle up here. We don't measure that angle. Right? We're looking at the amount of turn from the terminal x-axis. So across from this angle here, our reference angle, is 1, so, and we are in radians, so that's going to be pi 6, and we had that on the last page, right? Opposite 1 is 30 degrees, or pi 6. So that is our first answer, all right? So in quadrant 1, theta is pi 6, all right? That's a special right triangle, so we don't even have to use a calculator. All right, so now we know the other one has to be in the fourth quadrant because it's positive. All right, so all right, your reference angle is the amount of, so now we're going to have it this way, right? We go back to the x-axis. So this is our reference angle here. All right, let's get the positive answers and then we'll worry about the negative answers. All right, so if we're going in the positive direction, we want to go all the way around the circle and then stop here. All right, and so we need to find, we know what the reference angle is, right? The reference angle, it's the same angle on the other side. It's pi 6 as well. All right, so to find our next answer, which is in quadrant 4, all right, since we're in the fourth quadrant, remember together the principal angle and the reference angle together, so this is the principal angle and that one's the reference angle, it's just kind of crammed in there, together equal the whole circle, which is 2 pi. We already know that the reference angle is pi 6. So if we and 2 pi is the same as 12 pi 6. Right? And so now if we just subtract pi 6 from both sides, we get our other answer. So this was answer number 1, right? The angle in quadrant 1. Answer number 2, right? The angle in quadrant 4, so that's going to be 11 pi 6. And if it only said 0 to 2 pi, we would be done. But they have us going from negative 2 pi to 2 pi. All right, we don't have to graph anything new. We just need to figure out if we go the other direction. All right, so going the other direction, right, would be, here's our first one, right? We need to, so if I'm going clockwise, I stop right here. If I'm going counterclockwise, I stop right there as well. All right, well, how far did we go? Well, we know what that reference angle is. We know that angle right there is pi 6. So, and we're going in the negative direction. So one more answer for quadrant 4. So answer number 3 is negative. Oops. Don't hit the extend a page when you're writing, unless you want your page to do that. All right, and so that would be negative pi 6. All right, so we just went pi 6 in the other direction. And we're going to do the same thing. All right, so we're going to have another answer in quadrant 1 because and I'm going to write in another color so you can see it. All right, because we're going to go now in the other direction in the positive x-axis, and now we're going this way. All right, we almost went a whole circle. I have to put this, I don't know what I'm going to put 4. Yeah, let's do that. We almost went a whole circle, right? We almost went negative 2 pi, but we stopped, right, at the terminal side of the angle there. right? So how far did we go? Right? So if we went the whole way, right, we would have gone a full circle, right? So, but we didn't quite go a full circle, right? Because, sorry, that's supposed to just say negative 2 pi. Because we stopped pi 6 away. So negative 2 pi plus pi 6, that's the same as negative 12 pi 6 plus pi 6, so that's going to be negative 11 pi 6. So we have two answers, and notice they are the same, except two of them are positive and two of them are negative. So this is answer number, maybe I should make them clear, answer 1, 2, 3, and 4. So answer number 1 in the first quadrant is pi 6. Answer number 2 in the also in the first quadrant, negative 11 pi 6. Answer number 3 in the fourth quadrant is pi 6. And then answer number 4, also in the fourth quadrant, but going the other direction, is negative pi 6. And there we go. So look carefully at your domain here. All right, so because this is actually 4 pi. 2 pi to the right and 2 pi to, I shouldn't say right and left. That doesn't have too much meaning for a circle. 2 pi clockwise and 2 pi counterclockwise, right? And so the 2 pi clockwise is the negative part, and the 2 pi counterclockwise is the positive part. And together that makes 4 pi, which is now going to give us 4 answers, right? Because we extended, went around the circle twice. All right? So that's the end of these problems. Right? And so if you have a decimal, you're going to use the calculator, and you're going to use reference angles to help you find your other angle. You'll have 2 answers for all of these. Unless, of course, your domain is 4 pi, in which case you have 4 answers. And if you have if you don't have decimal approximations, but you have your ratios are exact values, then you're going to use your special right triangles. All right, that's the end of this video. Bye for now.